Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Thesaurus Thrive. I'm Lily, and I'm so excited to be here with you all today.
And I'm Ava. It's great to connect with our amazing listeners again. Today, we have a really special episode lined up, especially for those of you working on your English listening skills. We're going to dive into a story that's absolutely legendary.
That's right, Ava. We're talking about none other than Cleopatra, one of the most famous women in history. You've probably heard her name, seen movies about her, or read books. But today, we want to tell her story in a way that's easy to follow, perfect for beginners.
Exactly. Our goal is to make this an enjoyable and helpful listening practice session. So don't worry about complex vocabulary or super fast speaking. We'll take our time, explain things clearly, and make sure you can immerse yourselves in this incredible historical journey.
So let's start at the very beginning. Who was Cleopatra? Well, her full name was Cleopatra VII Philopator, which is quite a mouthful, isn't it?
It certainly is. Most people just say Cleopatra. She was the very last pharaoh of ancient Egypt. Think about that for a moment. Thousands of years of pharaohs, and she was the last one. This means she was the ruler, the queen, of Egypt.
And she wasn't actually Egyptian by birth, which might surprise some people. Her family, the Ptolemaic dynasty, were Greek. They came from one of Alexander the Great's generals who took control of Egypt centuries before Cleopatra was born.
That's a really important point, Lily. But what made Cleopatra special was that she really embraced Egyptian culture. She was the only one in her family line to actually learn the Egyptian language, which was pretty amazing at the time.
Absolutely. Most of her family just spoke Greek. But Cleopatra was super intelligent. She could speak many languages: Greek, Egyptian, Latin, Aramaic, Hebrew, and more. Imagine being able to do that. It made her a very powerful diplomat.
She was also very well educated, studying mathematics, philosophy, and astronomy. This wasn't just a beautiful queen, she was a brilliant leader. Her father was King Ptolemy XII Auletes, and she briefly ruled with him.
And her family life was complicated, to say the least. In ancient Egypt, it was common for pharaohs to marry their siblings to keep the royal bloodline pure. So Cleopatra married her younger brother, Ptolemy XIII, when she was around 18 and he was just 10 or 12.
Yes, a very different custom from today, right? But even though they were married, they were also rivals for power. Young Ptolemy XIII and his advisors wanted Cleopatra out. They managed to exile her, meaning they forced her to leave Egypt.
So she was exiled, but she didn't give up. She had an army waiting outside the city of Alexandria. This is where a very famous Roman leader comes into her story: Julius Caesar. Caesar came to Egypt chasing a Roman enemy, Pompey the Great.
And Caesar, being a very powerful man, wanted to settle the conflict between Cleopatra and her brother. Cleopatra, being very clever, knew she had to meet Caesar. But how do you get past an army and into a palace when you're exiled?
This is where the famous story of the carpet comes in. Some stories say she had herself rolled up in a carpet and delivered to Caesar as a gift. It's a dramatic image. Whether it's exactly true or not, it shows how determined she was.
It totally does. Imagine that. She literally rolled herself into Caesar's presence. And it worked. Caesar was fascinated by her intelligence, her charm, and her ambition. He decided to support her claim to the throne.
Caesar helped her defeat her brother Ptolemy XIII, who actually drowned in the Nile River during the fighting. After this, Cleopatra became queen again, but this time she ruled with another younger brother, Ptolemy XIV.
Her relationship with Julius Caesar wasn't just political. They fell in love and had a son together, named Caesarion, meaning Little Caesar. She even visited Rome with him, which must have been a huge sensation.
It really was. Imagine the Queen of Egypt, with her unique style and culture, visiting the heart of the Roman Empire. It caused quite a stir, you know? But their story took a tragic turn when Caesar was assassinated in Rome.
Yes, it was a huge shock to the Roman world and to Cleopatra. With Caesar gone, she returned to Egypt. And sadly, her co-ruler, her brother Ptolemy XIV, died around this time. Many historians believe Cleopatra arranged for his death to secure her son Caesarion's position.
So Cleopatra was back in Egypt, ruling alone with her young son Caesarion as co-ruler, hoping he would one day become a powerful pharaoh. But the Roman world was in chaos after Caesar's death. 3 powerful men divided the Roman Empire. Octavian, Lepidus, and Mark Antony.
And this brings us to the second great Roman love of Cleopatra's life, Mark Antony. Antony was one of Caesar's top generals, a very charismatic and strong figure. He was given the eastern part of the Roman Empire to govern.
Antony needed money and resources for his military campaigns, and Egypt was very rich. So, he summoned Cleopatra to meet him in Tarsus, a city in modern-day Turkey. He expected her to come as a subject, humble and obedient.
But Cleopatra was never humble or obedient, was she? She arrived in Tarsus in the most spectacular way possible. Imagine this. She sailed down the Cydnus River on a magnificent barge with a gilded stern, purple sails, and silver oars.
The air was filled with the scent of perfumes, and she was dressed as the goddess Aphrodite. It was a show, a grand entrance that absolutely captivated Mark Antony. It was designed to impress, and it worked perfectly.
Antony was completely charmed. Their meeting led to a powerful alliance and a deep romantic relationship. They spent a winter together in Egypt, enjoying lavish parties and hunting. They even had 3 children together, twins Alexander Helios and Cleopatra Selene, and another son, Ptolemy Philadelphus.
Their relationship was both a love story and a political alliance. Cleopatra offered Antony wealth and resources from Egypt, and Antony offered Cleopatra Roman protection and influence. For a while, it seemed like an unbreakable partnership.
However, their relationship caused a lot of tension back in Rome, especially with Octavian, who was Caesar's adopted son and Antony's main rival. Octavian was trying to present himself as the true Roman leader, while Antony was seen as being bewitched by Cleopatra and going native in the East.
Octavian used their love affair against Antony, telling the Roman people that Antony was giving away Roman lands to Cleopatra and neglecting his Roman duties. There was a lot of propaganda, spreading negative stories.
Eventually, the conflict between Octavian and Antony erupted into a full-scale war. This wasn't just about personal rivalry, it was about who would rule the entire Roman world. Cleopatra, of course, sided with Antony, bringing the power of Egypt to his cause.
The decisive battle was the Battle of Actium, a huge naval battle off the coast of Greece in 31 BC. Cleopatra and Antony's combined forces fought against Octavian's navy. It was a massive showdown.
Unfortunately for Cleopatra and Antony, they lost the battle. During the fighting, Cleopatra's fleet withdrew and Antony followed her. This was seen as a major sign of defeat and a huge blow to their morale and their chances of winning the war.
After the defeat at Actium, they both returned to Egypt, but their situation was desperate. Octavian's forces were closing in. Antony, receiving false news that Cleopatra had already died, fell on his own sword and committed suicide.
It's such a dramatic and tragic part of the story. Antony was brought to Cleopatra, who was hiding in a monument, and he died in her arms. She was then captured by Octavian's forces.
Cleopatra, ever the politician, tried to negotiate with Octavian. She wanted to save Egypt and secure a future for her children. She even tried to charm Octavian, but he was immune to her famous allure. He wanted to take her to Rome to parade her in his triumph, a public celebration of victory.
And Cleopatra, the proud queen who had ruled an empire, refused to be humiliated like that. She made a final, powerful decision. In August of 30 BC, she committed suicide. The most famous story is that she used an asp, a type of Egyptian cobra, to bite her.
Yes, the asp story is iconic. It's believed she chose this method because the bite of an asp was considered sacred and gave her a queenly, divine way out, rather than being captured and shamed by her enemy. Her 2 handmaidens also died with her.
With Cleopatra's death, the Ptolemaic dynasty ended, and Egypt became a Roman province. This marked the end of ancient Egypt as an independent kingdom. It was a truly pivotal moment in history.
Her son with Caesar, Caesarion, was also killed by Octavian, who saw him as a threat to his own power. Her children with Antony were taken to Rome. But their fates are less clear, though some say one of her daughters eventually married an African king.
So, what's Cleopatra's legacy? Why do we still talk about her thousands of years later? Well, she was a woman of immense power, intelligence, and charisma in a world dominated by men. She fought fiercely to keep Egypt independent.
She truly was. She used every tool she had, her intellect, her charm, her political skill, and even her beauty, to protect her kingdom and her family. And her story has inspired countless artists, writers, and filmmakers throughout history.
From Shakespeare to Hollywood, Cleopatra remains a symbol of beauty, power, and tragic romance. Her life reminds us that history is full of incredible, complex people, and their stories continue to fascinate us.
And that brings us to the end of our journey through Cleopatra's story. We hope you found this an interesting and helpful session for your English listening practice. We tried to keep it clear and easy to understand.
We really do. Remember, listening to stories like this is a fantastic way to improve your English. You're learning history, improving vocabulary, and getting used to the flow of conversation all at once.
So keep practicing, keep listening, and keep thriving with your English. We love having you as part of the Thesaurus Thrive community.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Thesaurus Thrive for more English learning content, and let us know in the comments what other historical figures or topics you'd like us to cover.
We'll see you next time on Thesaurus Thrive. Bye for now.
Bye.